7A2. We have reached 7A2. So let's go over what we learned yesterday. We spoke about the opinion of Rav Papa, who was the end of page 6A, where he mentions that you should follow both opinions, and when you say this type of blessing for the rain, when it rains, you say this special blessing of, and you include that Hashem is the Kel HaHidois, the God of praises, and Roiv HaHidois, who has abundance, deserves abundance of praises. And we mentioned yesterday that there's about 10 places throughout the Talmud, approximately 10 places where it mentions Rav Papa does this type of a concern for the honor of the rabbis, and he says, let's follow all opinions. And the interesting thing is Rav Papa merited to have 10 scholarly sons. So the understanding is, because he had such honor for the rabbis, therefore he merited to have 10 sons who would be great scholars, based on another Gemara that if a person who gives honor to the rabbis, he will merit sons that are scholars. If you look at the end of the tractate, could be the art scroll, might even have it in the back. It goes through the names of Rav Papa's sons. There's Chanina bar Papa, Rami bar Papa, Nachman bar Papa, Achi bar Papa, Abba Mori bar Papa, Rafram bar Papa, Rachash bar Papa, Surcha bar Papa, Ada bar Papa, Doro bar Papa. It goes through all 10 names of Rav Papa's sons. And so one of the interpretations is that this is his merit for caring so much for the honor of the rabbis, that he wanted to follow all opinions. Now, I should mention, I say it's approximately 10 places because there's an 11th place where it seems like he also he said, he stuck up for the rabbis and wanted to follow all opinions. And so the question is, what about the 11th son of Rav Papa? Why didn't he merit to have an 11th son? So the thing is that there are different versions, and according to some versions, it's not Rav Papa. The 11th place where it mentions this is not Rav Papa, so it could be that it's only 10 places, Rabbi. Really. Or there is another source that Seder Olam brings that Rav Papa did have 11 sons, so maybe he really did say it, and he had an 11th son as well. Anyway, yes, Moshe.
Doesn't any credit go to the mother? I mean,
well, the mother also had 11 sons. I mean,
yeah, right. You should get credit too.
He's the one who stuck up for the rabbis. She didn't.
Right.
He's the one who benefited. She also benefited. Right. Yes. So okay. So that was Rav Papa. Now we mentioned yesterday in Shulchan Aruch, we spoke about the fact that in Shulchan Aruch it talks about this bracha, my mevarech, and we mentioned over there why you've never heard this bracha before. Why don't we say this when it rains? And it really is more applicable in places where there's serious droughts, and only after a drought or a famine. And so that's why we're not so familiar. That's why we don't know the bracha. And additionally, it mentions over there something that we learned in brachas that had to do with the fact that when does this bracha really recited? Because we also know there's a bracha when something good happens, shehachiyanu or hatoiv v'hametiv. So there are other brachas as well. So in Shulchan Aruch and based on the Gemara and brachas, it does clarify that if a person doesn't own land, so then they would recite this bracha. If they own land, then it's something very good for them. They could say a shachianu. If it's a partnership in land, they could say hatoiv v'hametiv, because when two people are benefiting from it, then you would say the hatoiv v'hametiv, that he does good. He is good and he does good. So that is commonly recited when two people benefit. Like, for example, if you're drinking wine with another person and a new wine is brought to the table, or new wine that's a better wine is now is being served. So that second wine you could recite Hatoiv Hametiv if you have two people together. So some people don't recite it nowadays because we don't understand, we don't really know the taste of wine, but other people do. They say, it's a better wine. You could recite that special bracha Hatoiv Hametiv. Anyway, our Gemara mentioned this bracha of rain, Moedim Anachnu Lach, and then Ilufinu Maleshira Kayam. So basically, this bracha definitely applies for a person who mute everyone. This bracha applies for people who do not have land. They would recite that bracha. And the Gemara continued and spoke about the greatness of Yom HaGeshamim. It's greater than Tchias HaMesim. And it sounds a little surprising to say such a thing, that the rain is greater than Tchias HaMesim. It's better than the resurrection of the dead, just because rain. And the Gemara explains it, meaning that it's great because the rain is for tzaddikim and for Rishonim, for the righteous and for the wicked. And Tchias HaMesim, the resurrection of the dead, is only for the righteous. And therefore, rain is even greater than Tchias HaMesim. We struggle to understand this because is that so much better because the rain helps the wicked? That's good, Is that really so good? And second of all, does that make it better than the resurrection of the dead? And we mentioned the commentary yesterday that what this means is that the resurrection of the dead, it is not complicated for Hashem to do. What does that mean? Complicated. Nothing is hard for Hashem. But what it means is that when Hashem resurrects the righteous, great. Sounds, it's easy, so to speak. It's part of the package. It's part of, they deserve it. It's good. It's a simple, it makes sense. But when it comes to giving rain to the wicked, that's like Hashem bending over backwards. That's like, to give rain to the wicked. That's, in other words, if you look at it from the recipient, from who's the recipient, and thinking, wow, Hashem is now going to help out the wicked, that's where it shows greatness, meaning Hashem's mercy is being really extended and overused. It's like really working hard, and that's what it refers to. That the rain, you see this element of Hashem going beyond and above, doing something that's not within the regular rules, so to speak. It's sort of like transcending the ordinary rules. It shows Hashem's greatness, and the world doesn't deserve this. It doesn't merit the rain. There are wicked people; they don't merit the rain, and nevertheless, Hashem is going to give the rain. That shows the greatness of rain over Tchias HaMesim, over the resurrection of the dead. There is something with that we also touched upon, and that is Tchias HaMesim only for the righteous? Do the wicked not stand in Tchias HaMesim? And our Gemara sounds like they don't get up for Tchias HaMesim. Yes, Ben.
I want to say that to me, Tchias HaMesim is a one-time occurrence. The rain keeps us alive for years and years. Maybe it's more important for the life ones.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a one-time occurrence. It's a blessing that keeps returning.
Mm-hmm. So each rain, if you it's not that one rain is better. It means that if you look at all the rains, it has an element of
greatness.
The amount of rain. Yeah,
Question.
I mean, that's a
Question.
okay point. Yes, Ezra.
I mean, the fact that Hashem is returning our soul every single day, you don't consider that to be Tchiyat HaMetim? They say that sleep is the equivalent of 1/60th of death. So doesn't that count as anything?
So it does. The only thing is, our Gemara says that Hashem only does it for the righteous. And we know the wicked also wake up every morning. So I wouldn't be able to put it into our Gemara and say that's what it's referring to. But you're right, on a certain level, there is Tchias HaMesim every day. And, Hashem gives us back our neshama.
But if it's 160th, it's not that much.
If you don't wake up, it's a lot.
Rabbi,
Yes, Moshe.
what about geoengineering, where they seeding the clouds? I mean, is there resurrection of the dead for these people, or what do they think about that?
Right.
Seeding the clouds, cloud seeding to make rain. Seed clouding to make rain.
Didn't exist in their time.
You're saying it's possible to make clouds that will rain?
Oh, of course. Yeah, the dried ice can be shot into the clouds to make rain. There's all kinds of ways they can do it. It's happening right now in some parts of the world. I think Bill Gates is having a lot of success at that. He bought up a lot of farmland, if I'm not mistaken, and he's playing with the environment. I mean, these are things that are going on right now, right? In our time. Yeah.
Right. Interesting, very interesting. Yeah, I don't know if we can consider that the day of rain, when great is the day of rain more than Tchias HaMesim if someone's actually pouring the water. You know what I mean? It's then you could say that Hashem is allowing it. So maybe it is considered that Hashem is allowing the rain. That deserves to be looked into and thought about. Anyway, we were dealing with the question of how does this work with Tchias HaMesim? Are the wicked gonna get up for Tchias HaMesim? So one of the sources here is the way Rashi translates it, and Rashi says over here that the Risha'ei Umais Ha'olam. It's the fourth line of Rashi. He says the wicked of the nations of the world, Einon Chayim, are not going to get up. Now, the Bachs takes out those words, but the print that we have in Rashi, and I should preface this that there are questions as to Rashi of Taanis, if it really is the real Rashi, because a lot of the Rashi here seems to be a slightly different style than the regular Rashi throughout the Talmud. So there is debates about the Rashi of Taanis, if this is really Rashi or it's another commentary that they printed on the side of the Gemara, that they took the space where Rashi is and printed it here. But in any event, it is one of the commentaries. And the way it's printed is the Rishai Umais Ha'olam, the nation, the wicked of the nations of the world are not going to get up to life. So it's referring to the Goyim. But the Yidden, they will, even the wicked Yidden, it sounds like from Rashi, even the wicked Yidden, they will rise, but it's the wicked of the Goyim that will not get up for Tchias HaMesim. So that's the way Rashi seems to get out of this problem as to the Yidden, the wicked Yidden are not going to rise for Tchias HaMesim, and the answer, according to Rashi, would be no. The wicked of the Jews do rise; they will rise for Tchias HaMesim. It's referring specifically to the non-Jews, that they won't rise, for the wicked of them are not going to be able to rise. And the reason for that would be that the whole purpose of the nations is to help allow the Yidden to perform our service to God. That's the whole purpose of the world around us, is to allow us to serve Hashem properly, and they as well are part of this project. In other words, they have to. So if they're wicked and they're not helping us perform our obligations, then why should they be resurrected? What is their purpose? The whole purpose of the world is to serve Hashem. So that would be the idea of the how to answer this Gemara, at least according to Rashi. That. Now the Bach switches it and says you have to take out those words. It means they're all wicked. They're referring to all wicked. So according to that, it sounds like the wicked are not going to rise for Tchias HaMesim. Now there is a Mishnah in Pirkei Avos. It says, "Kol Yisrael yesh lehem chelek lo olam haba." All Yidden have a portion in the world to come. But then the Mishnah says, but these don't have a portion. So it makes some exceptions. So according to that, there are exceptions, and it's brought in the Sanhedrin, Tractate Sanhedrin, these exceptions to the rule. So that would seemingly be what we are referring to when it says the wicked do not rise for Techiyas HaMesim. Now, there is another point over here that the Yavit says, and that is that even the wicked will get up for Techiyas HaMesim, but they're going to get up for some type of a punishment. So when it says here that only the righteous are going to get up, it means that they'll get up for resurrection of the dead. They'll be able to enjoy and have good, enjoyable Techiyas HaMesim. So, and that's not that the wicked won't get up; they will, but they're gonna they will, but they won't have the enjoyment that the righteous have. So that's another way of explaining it. And then there's a famous insight of the Rebbe, which is also brought down in the name of the Radvaz, that the righteous will actually rise for Techiyas HaMesim at an earlier stage, even in the time of before the regular resurrection happens. The righteous are gonna get up for to be able to enjoy the revelations of the coming of Mashiach. They're going to actually get up at that time so that they'll be there for the revelations. And the rest of the world, the rest of those that are getting up for Techiyas HaMesim will be much later. So according to that, you may be able to translate our Gemara. Again, I didn't see anyone clearly state this, but according to that insight, you could say that our Gemara is talking about the first stage of Techiyas HaMesim, that it's only for the righteous. The righteous are going to get up for that first stage. The rain, everyone benefits from. The righteous are going to be the ones who benefit from the first stage of Techiyas HaMesim, and they are going to enjoy, even at the coming of Mashiach, they're going to actually be here. So in other words, we should be ready for the righteous to come first. The righteous are going to rise first. And there are sources for that, and as I mentioned, it's an insight that the Rebbe mentions, as well as a Radvaz, who is a famous halachic authority, very famous halachic authority, a big commentary on the Rambam as well. Yes, Mordechai.
Yeah, the Me'am Louise states that Kriyas Yam Suf, the Avos had a temporary Techiyas HaMesim. In other words, they were brought to the Yam Suf to observe what was going on, and the Me'am Louise says that the remnants to that is, it says Ashira Lashem Ga'o Ga'a, and Ga'a is the Rashi Tevis of Gimel Avos HaOlam.
That who had Techiyas HaMesim? Only the patriarch?
The Abraham, Yitzchok, and Yaakov had temporary Techiyas HaMesim.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Interesting. Okay, shkoyach. So, I mean, we know of stories of Techiyas HaMesim, individual stories, but what we're looking for, it sounds like, is a day of Techiyas HaMesim, an event where it's for the community. But in any event, so we have here this Gemara talks about the greatness of the day of rain, and it makes sense that we're talking about these ideas here because we're talking about rain. So we talk about the greatness of rain, and the Gemara then also mentioned another point, and that was that Rav Yosef doesn't say that it's greater than the day of that rain is greater than Techiyas HaMesim. Rather, he says it's equal to Techiyas HaMesim. And being equal to Techiyas HaMesim, they established it in the bracha that we say, we thank Hashem for the resurrection. So it's included in that bracha because it's equal to, it's not greater than it, but it's equal to it. And on that, you could maybe say that, gives life, maybe along what Ezra was saying, maybe this opinion would fit with that idea that, as Ben was saying, that the rain is, it's often, so it has a similar impact to Tchias HaMesim, and maybe it could be considered at least equal to it, or because it is giving life, and Tchias HaMesim is giving life, and you could it fits with that idea. So it's similar to, it's equal to it. Then the Gemara said that Rav Yehuda says, great is the day of rain, like the day that the Torah was given. And they bring psukim about Yarav. It's a pasuk in Ha'azinu, and the pasuk over there says that the rain falls, that the Torah drips like rain. My lekach drips like rain. My lekach literally means a acquisition, something I acquired, what I bought, I purchased. My purchase is drips like rain, and what it refers to is the Torah, because it uses the same term, ki lekach toiv nasati lachem, a good purchase my good purchase I gave to you. It's interesting why it's called a lekach, or maybe it could also mean something I took. To lakach means to take, so something I took, what I took is I gave to you. And it refers to the Torah. Tarasi al Tazeva, the pasuk in Mishlei says clearly that the Torah is called a lekach. It's because it's a lekach toiv dasati lachem. I gave you this lekach, this the purchase, or this acquisition, this thing that I took. In Tarasi al Tazevu, do not forsake my Torah. So what do we see there? That the rain is equal to, similar to the giving of the Torah. Ya'arif kamoter likhi, like rain, that the Torah is like rain. And then Rava says, if you think about it, which one is being dependent on the other? The Torah is like rain. That means rain is even more greater, and the Torah is like it. So it sounds like that the rain is even more, that the rain is even greater than the great is the day of rain, even more than the day that the Torah was given. That was another question we had, like what are we trying to emphasize here? And one, I think David mentioned yesterday that what this Gemara is saying is similar to the previous Gemara, that the Torah is really benefiting the tzaddikim, but the rain benefits everyone. So, what that means is that there is an element of greatness that the rain has, that it is like, as I said before, Hashem is like bending over backwards to go and use an abundance of mercy and kindness that's really beyond the norm, beyond way beyond what they deserve to give them rain. And but yet the Torah is Hashem gave us the Torah, gave it to the righteous. And what that means is, we asked yesterday, what do you mean even the wicked learn Torah? But I think the answer to that would be that we're talking about the day that the Torah was given. And at the day the Torah was given, at that point we were considered righteous. Like the first luchais were considered, were the inyan of tzaddikim. And the second luchais were the inyan of Baal Tshuvas. Then we did Tshuva. But the idea of the Torah, the day the Torah was given, we were all righteous. So when was the Torah given? To the righteous. When the rain is given to the wicked. So that's what it refers. That would be the answer to yesterday's question that some of you had asked. Yes, Ben.
Yeah, I wanted to say lekach in Hebrew is usually a lesson, a moral lesson. I taught him a moral lesson, or I taught him this, I taught him that, is lekach.
Okay, so then let's translate it that way. Good. Yarif kamota lekhi, my lesson drips down like rain. Okay. All right, so that's another translation of the word lekach. but I have to take a look and see in the Makrois Gedolos if that's the way it's translated in Parshas Hazinu. We could let me just pull up Hazinu over here in my Sefaria, and let's just see if that's the actual the common translation. You might be right. It's
okay. Yeah.
30. What is it? Chapter 32, probably. Yeah. Yarev Kamater Likhi. Let's see. Now Rashi doesn't say anything. They have an Ezra Likhi. Mashikach echad mimeno ketam limud. Yep, that's the way that Evan Ezra wants to learn it. It seems like my doctrine. That word one will take away from him. It means a lesson. Yeah,
it's a lesson. Like
Ezra. The Ramban here.
That's how I always used it.
Yeah. Okay. I guess that's a good translation.
It's the only one I know. That's the way I always used it.
Okay, good. The Alshech. Very good. Okay, yeah, there's a lot of stuff here, but in any event, sounds good. So let's translate it that way. Yarev Kamotor Likhi, my lesson will drip like rain, and that's referring to the Torah.
Teaching Torah is also a lekach. You're teaching.
That's it. That's what it is. Yeah, for sure. Okay. The next Gemara said that Rava had a contradiction here where it uses that term Yaroif, which we translated as dripping, but it also means Arifa, like Egla Arufa, where they decapitate the calf in order to make a statement when a person is killed, is murdered, and we don't know who did the murder. So they make a whole ceremony there, and they do what's called the Egla Arufa, and the communities that are nearby, they have to measure which one is closest, and then they make an announcement like, we did not spill the blood of this person. We don't know who did it, and basically they're hoping to find who the guilty ones are, and bring them to justice. And so that's the mitzvah of Egla Arufa. And the word Arufa there means to decapitate. It means to kill the Egla, the calf. So so Rava says, if you take that meaning of the word Ya'aroif to Egla Arufa, what it would mean is that my lekach would mean someone who studies the Torah should be destroyed. But it also says, Tizal Katal Imrasi, my words shall flow like dew. So it should be oiref like rain, and it should flow like dew. So the Gemara, so Rava explains, what is it? Is Torah similar to matar, to rain, or to dew? So in other words, at first, we're comparing the Torah to rain, then we're comparing it to dew. And at this point, we're not sure how to translate oiref. But then at the answer, Rava explains that it's based on the word oiref, that it says if he's a Talmud Chacham Hagun, if he's a refined scholar, then his teaching is like dew that comes down pleasantly. But if he's not refined, then you should decapitate him, so to speak, or feyu, kill him like rain. He is deserving of death. Doesn't mean you should do it. It means he's deserving of death from the same word of Yaroif. And what this basically means is that there's a bigger responsibility on a scholar to act appropriately than anyone else, because he is the ambassador and he is the one who's spreading Hashem and promoting Hashem, and he represents more by being a scholar. So it basically gives him a more responsibility. At least that's the simple understanding. I'm sure there's deeper, as we said, that these Gemaras obviously have a lot of secrets in them. Okay. There is another interpretation that I will just mention, and that is that if he's a scholar who's refined, then people will enjoy him like dew. Dew is something that no one ever is upset about, and no one ever distances themselves from. But rain, that is something that, you know, people sometimes it's not so pleasant if you're stuck in the rain and so on, and you're not ready for it. So that's what it refers to, that if a person is not a proper scholar, then people are going to be disgusted with him like rain. So that would be a little a different avenue to take of understanding this. Yes, Moshe.
Okay, I don't know if this is really pertaining to the situation, but for example, let's say the Retiree Carte, they go to Iran, they embrace the president or the leaders of Iran, and you know, they're against Israel's existence. Yet, you know, they're considered scholars. I mean, are these people considered, you know, in this category?
Yeah, we're not even going to talk about these people. They're not. They don't seem to have a brain. So let's just leave it at that. You know what I mean? But anyway, the people that you know what I mean, you can't deal with people who are totally, you know, brainless. Anyway, getting back to our insight. So how do you fit what I just said into the Gemara? The Gemara said Yaroif, which we translated as they deserve death. The answer is that we're translating it not as deserving death, but Oiref refers to the neck, and that's why it's translated sometimes as decapitating, because it refers to the neck. But here, what it means is, or feyu kamutter, you turn your neck to the scholar if he's not righteous. If he's not a righteous person, might be a scholar, but he's not righteous, so you turn the back of your neck. The oiref is the back of your head, or the back of your head that faces the neck. That's what oiref is. So you turn your back towards the scholar who's not refined, just like rain that you sometimes don't want and you wish didn't come at that time. So that's what it refers to. So again, that doesn't mean killing the person, but it means that he is someone who is not going to get respect from others, because he's not a Talmud Chacham Pagun, he's not a scholar that's refined.
Well, if it's not just the back of the neck, once you turn your back of your neck, you're turning the whole back to a person. Just turn away from him, you know.
Turn away, whatever it is. But the point is that he's not pleasant to everyone. Right. So not everyone considers him that someone they want to hang around. Okay. So the next Gemara was Rabbi Benah. Rabbi Benah said that if you learn Torah Lishma, then the Torah becomes a Sam HaChayim, it becomes a healthy drink, elixir of life. And if a person learns Torah Shalei Lishma, then it becomes a Sam HaMavis, a poison. And the reason why it's good, well, how do we see that it would be a poison? From a pasuk, it says the same pasuk, Yarif Kamata Litchi, Arifa means Hariga. that he'll that it basically is considered a dangerous drink. The Torah could be considered dangerous if you learn it for the wrong purposes. We spoke a little about learning Torah Lishma and learning Torah Shalei Lishma. What does Lishma mean? We said, according to the Ari, Lishma means L'davka, to connect to Hashem. According to the other places, and like Nefesh HaChaim mentions that it means L'agdil Torah L'adira, to make Torah beautiful, to beautify the Torah. And that's what it means to learn Torah for Hashem's sake. And then what does it mean, Shaloi Lishma? That's the real question, is what does it mean to learn Torah not for the sake of Hashem? And on that, in order to answer that, you have to understand there is a contradiction, because there's a famous Gemara in Psachim that says that a person should always learn Torah Shaloi Lishma. Because if you learn Torah not for the sake, for its sake, but you learn it for an ulterior motive, it's still good, it says over there in Psachim, because it'll ultimately lead you to learn Torah more, and you'll ultimately learn it for the right purpose. But our Gemara says that it really is like a poison. It's dangerous to learn Torah for the wrong purpose. So that contradiction, we said, Tosfos tries to answer it by saying there's a difference of different levels of learning Torah for the wrong purpose. Again, we're here on page 7a, and this is the last piece that we did yesterday. And it's about learning Torah for the right purpose or for the wrong purpose. And generally, we encourage children to learn Torah even to get prizes, right? Now, is that the right purpose or the wrong purpose? So we encourage children, right, to learn Torah. What do they learn? They're gonna get a Slurpee, or they're gonna get some other prize that we give them. So is that considered lishma or shalei lishma? So Tosfos brings this Gemara in Psachim that says, of course, it's good to learn shalei lishma. You should learn without shalei lishma, because from the shalei lishma, from learning for the wrong purpose, it'll lead to learning for the right purpose. So that Gemara is a very famous Gemara, but our Gemara says that it actually is not good because it is like a poison. And that would mean that maybe you shouldn't even give children these prizes if they're going to learn for the wrong purpose. So Tosfos answers the contradiction by saying there's two types of shalei lishmas, two types of doing things for the wrong purpose. One is where you just want covered, you want honor. So you're going to learn Torah, become a more knowledgeable person, that people are going to honor you when they see you. Oh, this guy is a scholar. This guy is a rabbi. This guy is, they look up to you. That's one type of shalei lishma, and that type is okay. That's fine, because ultimately you'll connect to the Torah, and ultimately it'll lead you to want to connect to Hashem. However, the other type of shalei lishma is lekanter. Kanter means like to cause others pain, or to tease. You want to use your Torah learning to bother others that you know better than them, and they're wrong, or somehow you're using your Torah in a negative way that's hurting others. And so that lekanter is considered a poison. That's considered a terrible reason to learn, and therefore it's considered like a poison. And people that we have stories that we've gone through in Tanakh that we generally understand that their learning Torah was for the wrong purpose, like Doeg HaDoimi that killed out the whole city of Noiv. He was a great scholar. How did he do such a terrible, crazy thing? And he spoke Lashon Hara about David HaMelech and made up stories about David HaMelech. And the same thing with Achitophel. Achitophel also, their learning Torah obviously was for the wrong purposes. And generally, based on this Tosfos, we would say they probably learned Torah in order to bother others and to embarrass others, or cause pain to others. And that was, or at least that would probably be why their Torah didn't refine them, but it really was like a poison for them. And they would have done better if they weren't such scholars, because had they not been such scholars, they would never have made the mistakes that they made and destroyed their own life and other people's lives. So that's Tosfos. Now, what's interesting is Rashi doesn't seem to agree with this insight of Tosfos, because Tosfos, we just said, follows a 3-level purpose of learning Torah. There's the right purpose, and then there's two types of wrong purposes. And one wrong way is not bad. It's okay. If you do it, it's good. It's fine. You could do it. The other wrong way is terrible. It's like a poison. But the problem is Rashi says that lishma is, what does lishma mean? So Rashi says over here, it's because this is how Hashem commanded me, and not in order to be called a Rebbe, not to get honor, be called rabbi or some professor, some name. What does that sound like from Rashi? Rashi says the reason when you learn Torah for the right purpose, for its sake, that's when you're doing it because Hashem commanded you, and you're not doing it in order to be called a Rebbe, not to be called a scholar. What does that sound like? That if you did it to be called a scholar, then that falls into the other category of it's a poison. So how would Rashi learn the Gemara in Psachim, where there is a purpose of learning Torah, Shaloi Lishma? There's a purpose in learning Torah that even if it's Shaloi Lishma, it's still good. What do you mean that Rashi over here says that if a person learns to be called a Rebbe and to get honor, he's considered like it's a poison. It's a poison for him. So what would be a different level where it wouldn't be a problem to learn Torah Shalei Lishma? In other words, there must be some other level, according to Rashi, that would be okay to learn Torah that way for that purpose, in order and be able to fit with the Gemara and Psachim, where you're learning Torah not for the right purpose, but it's not a terrible purpose, which Rashi holds is even for it to be called to get honor, that would be a terrible purpose. But if somewhere in the middle would be okay. So we're going to have to figure out what Rashi would hold for to be able to reconcile that Gemara and Psachim. Yes, Ben.
I want to say, I think what they mean is it shouldn't be for self-aggrandizement. It should be for the aggrandizement of the Torah.
That's correct. But what would happen if someone does it for self-aggrandizement?
He's hurting himself and
is
who
it
he's
poison?
To, and who he's talking to.
Is it poison, or is it then okay? Let me just tell you
but if he's doing it.
Poison is bad. It's that's
it's bad.
That's
it's the wrong
that's
thing
murder.
to do. Yeah.
That's suicide. Poison is like suicide.
That's what happened to those guys.
Right. But the thing is that the Gemara says in Psachim, La'olam yilmad adam shaloi lishma. A person should always learn for the wrong purpose, because from the loy lishma, ba lishma, it'll come to doing lishma. So how do you reconcile that Gemara with this? So again, what you just said was Rashi's pshat. That
in other words, they say it's not such a strong poison that will kill you. It'll change.
It doesn't sound like that from the Gemara there. It's not a poison at all. It's a good thing. It's actually going to lead you to learn Lishma. It's like a workout that you're getting ready to do well, and it's not a bad thing at all. You won't call it a poison. It's like you're doing a workout to be able to play baseball and soccer properly. That's what it sounds like from that Gemara. Shalei Lishma is just a little workout before you get on the field.
Shalom Lishma, you get different religions. That's what it ends up. So.
Get different religions.
Right.
What do you mean?
Well, if you don't follow the Torah to what it meant to be, you get other ideas.
Well, because what you're saying is an interesting point.
I think when they say Shalom Lishma, they mean children, Children don't have the full understanding yet.
Right.
So they start with anything. At the end, they end up learning it for the right way.
Okay, that's a interesting insight. Ben wants to say that maybe you could reconcile the contradiction by saying that refers to children. But the thing is, Lo'ilam Yilmad Adam, it says. It doesn't fit the words perfectly, but you could, say maybe it means it, loosely and not really.
It could be an Adam. It could be an Adam that is in the level of a child. Not everybody is at the level of others,
But it does seem like a contradiction. If you want to say it applies to adults, then it would definitely be a contradiction, because here it says it's a poison. There it's saying it sounds like it's a good thing. It's going to lead to lishma. It's a good thing. It's a workout. So
for somebody that doesn't follow at all, even not for Shema, it'll start there, but it'll turn, because they don't know, or they don't understand yet. You
right.
know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I do want to mention that it seems that the Rambam maybe answers our problem, because the Rambam says that, and he talks about learning Torah out of fear, that would be considered shaloi lishma. But that's okay. If you learn Torah out of fear, fear of punishment, that would be considered like shaloi lishma, but that would be okay. The shaloi lishma of being like to get honor, that would be maybe considered a poison. So the Rambam seems to have that middle level that would fit with the Gemara in Pesachim, that if you learn Torah out of love of Hashem, that's lishma, that's for Hashem's sake. You love Hashem so much, you want to get closer to Hashem, l'davka by maybe, or to this is what Hashem wants, and you're doing it for the right purpose. That would be the proper way to learn Torah, and the Torah becomes like an elixir of life. But the person who learns Torah shaloi lishma, so there's two types. If you learn Torah that it's because out of fear, so then it's going to ultimately lead you to get closer to Hashem. That's the Gemara in Pesachim. In the Gemara here, it says it becomes a poison. That's a shaloi lishma. That's much worse. And that would be the way Rashi puts it, that it's in order to get honor, and to be called a rabbi. Now, Tosfos seems to have a little more leeway and allows that's not considered poison if you just do it for that. It's only if you do it lekanter, to cause pain to others, tease others, that would be considered the poison. That would be the case of poison. Now, it is interesting because there is a story in the Gemara about Elisha ben Avuya, and when I think it was at his bris, where there were great scholars who were there, and or at his bar mitzvah, I think it was at his bris. There were great scholars that were there with Elisha ben Avuya. Elisha ben Avuya was a person who was a tremendous scholar, but he ultimately became a heretic. Reb Meir used to learn from him. Reb Meir was his student, and Elisha ben Avuya at his bris. So the great scholars there, they were having such a scholarly discussion that it brought down a fire from heaven. It says there was a fire, and Elisha ben Avuya's father said, "Get out of here, people! What are you doing? You're going to burn down my house." So they said, "No, this is a Torah, fire of Torah." That was their answer to him. And so he said, if this is such a fire, Torah creates such a fire, may my son be a great scholar. So the Gemara says over there that because he wanted to be his son, to be like them who brought down this fire, therefore his Torah ended up that he became a heretic. In other words, he wanted his son to be a great scholar, not for the sake of getting close to Hashem. He wanted his son to be a great scholar, to be able to also accomplish what they accomplished, to have like a fire from heaven, and to sort of like be on such a level. So he wanted his son to have like that honor, which sounds almost like Rashi's idea that would be like a poison, even if you do it for that purpose. In other words, he didn't want to hurt people. He didn't want his son to hurt people, like the Tosfos is learning. That would be a terrible thing of shaloi lishma. But it sounds from that Gemara that he wanted his son to be in the level like that could bring down a fire from heaven. That could be of a great status and do great things. Be honored and looked up to. So from that Gemara, it does sound a little like this idea that Rashi holds, that shaloi lishma, that's a poison, is in order to be called a rabbi. Anyway, this is the discussion over here in the Gemara. Let's go a little further. This is, I should say, in the commentaries of the Gemara. Let's go a little further. We're going to start the next piece of Gemara now, and that is Amar le Reb Yirmiyah le Rabbi Zera. And again, we're in 7a, and let me tell you, in the art scroll, we're in 7a2. 7a2 in the art scroll. Amar le Reb Yirmiyah le Reb Zera. Reb Yirmiyah said, asked to Reb Zera, Leisi mar lisni, come and teach. Amar le cholash liboyev la yachilna. I am weak and I am not able. Lema mar milsa de agadata. So Rabbi Yirmiyah said, okay, so come and say something of agada, of homiletic insight. It's not as, it doesn't have to be as as complicated as a halacha, but it'll be something of interest, Gadata. Amar lei hachi amar Rabbi Yochanan. He said, this is what Rabbi Yochanan said. Ki ha'adam eitz hasada. A person is like the tree of the field. That's what it says in the pasuk. Adam is eitz hasada. Person is like a tree of the field. The Adam eitz sadahu is a person, tree of the field. Are you a tree? Elamishum dechsiv, because it says ki mimenu seichel va'isa leisichreis. From it, from a fruit-bearing tree, you should eat, and you may not cut it down. But it also says about a non-fruit-bearing tree, uksiv oisai sashches v'charata. You should destroy it and cut it down. Talking about a war, and so fruit trees you wouldn't cut down, but the regular tree you could cut down. And the Gemara says that if a person is like the fruit, is like a tree. Now, how does that sentence play itself out? How do you apply that idea to a person? So there are some trees that you're not allowed to cut down, and some trees that you are allowed to cut down. And how do we now apply that to a person, that a person is like the trees? So the Gemara says, how is this so? Gemara says, Im Talmud Chacham Haganu, if he's a proper Talmud Chacham that's refined, a Talmud Chacham that's acts appropriately in a refined manner, from him you should study from, and don't cut him down, don't destroy him. He's like a fruit tree. He's a refined scholar. He's a fruit tree. Vim lav, but if he's not, doesn't have proper character, oisai sashtes v'charata, him you should cut down and destroy, meaning him, he is not someone who you should learn from. So that this is a continuation of this idea of that we started off talking about rain, which led us to dealing with Torah and rain. We compared Torah to rain, and because we said Yaref Kamater Likchi refers to rain, that you have to either destroy him if he's like rain, like in other words, if he's not proper, and or turn your neck to him. And then we got into this other idea of scholars, or now the next Gemara is about scholars learning, about people learning Torah in a pair. Continuation of this idea of learning Torah. Amar Reb Chama, Rabbi Chama said in the name of Amar Rabbi Chanina, in the name of Rabbi Chanina, or Rabbi Chama bi Rabbi Chanina, the son of Rabbi Chanina. It's a little questionable what the girsa is here, what the exact correct text is. But this Rabbi Chama said, "My dechsiv." What does it mean? Barzel, the barzel yachad. That iron, just like iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. In other words, how do you sharpen a knife? With iron. So how is barzel barzel, or it could be sharpened with iron. So the same thing is people sharpen. What does that mean? So loimer l'cha, this teaches you ma barzel zeh, just like this iron is echad mechaded es chaveroi, one sharpens another. Af shnei talmidei chachamim, also two scholars mechadedin zeh zeh b'halacha, they sharpen each other in halacha. That the ability to come up with the right insight is to learn Torah with another person, and then you will be sharpened. Your mind will sharpen your friend. Your friend will sharpen yours. What does that mean? What it means is that when you learn Torah with someone else, they ask you questions, you ask them questions. Anything they say that sounds questionable, you bring out the problem with it. And if they say something that's questionable, you bring out the problem with it. And ultimately, you use the process of elimination, and you eliminate wrong insight, wrong things, and you come up with the correct shot. You come up with the correct final statement. And that idea really leads us is leading from the previous Gemara, because the previous Gemara talked about learning Torah in a way that's being a scholar that's hagun, that's proper, that's appropriate, that's refined. And this Gemara is saying that you need to sharpen yourself in order to come up with the right insight, the right halacha. And what that means is that you need to allow someone else to argue with you and correct you, because that's unfortunately the way things have to work. In order for really to come to the right shot, you do need to go through a process of going over, thinking about the wrong. You see things slightly wrong or completely wrong, and by debating, you're able to refine it and get and it's a humbling experience, but it allows you to come to the correct halacha, and so that's the continuation of this Gemara from the previous Gemara. Okay, it looks like we're gonna have to stop here. Have a wonderful Shabbos, everyone. Sei gesund.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Rabbi. Have
Rabbi.
a good Shabbos.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Good
Shabbat
Shabbat.
Thank you.
shalom.
Bye-bye,
See
everyone.
you. Bye.
Bye-bye.